Alright, welcome everybody to another Culz Reviews episode. Today we are checking out the Timeline episode, The Man Who Made Witchcraft. It's a documentary about Wicca, which Andrew knows a lot about, but we'll get to that towards the end. As usual, I'm Keegan. Joining me tonight is...
Sam.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
Matt.
Alright, so as usual, with these type of documentaries, there's not any acting. And so I think we're just going to talk about maybe the things we learned, or maybe in Andrew's case, some of the things he noticed that were maybe not done correctly. So we're going to start with Sam. Sam, what were some things you learned?
Honestly, I'm going to have to rewatch it because there was a lot of distractions.
Oh, jeez, Sam.
Well, I'm going to be honest.
Oh.
I couldn't have learned anything with these two whispering. This guy saying hippies all the time. So I'd like to say I learned something new, but it's hard to say.
Alright, Matt.
There is no such thing as a viewer of Wicca. If you want to see any of their stuff, you have to participate.
Yes, I think like a lot of people in the U.S., when I first watched this, you really learn who Gerald Gardner was. Obviously, they go and interview some people in Britain, and of course, because he's from Britain, it started there. They all know who he is, and really when Wicca started. And I think here in America, when you talk to people, they sort of know what Wicca is, but they think it's older, and I don't even know if they know who Gerald Gardner is. And so maybe at some point in the future we'll do an episode on Gerald Gardner. But for
I did like all the interviews that they had with the people that knew him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And had stories to tell about him.
Yeah, they all seem pretty in tune with it. I mean, even at the Witch Convention, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
It might have an actual name, but that's what it was called in the show. But when they were talking, who's Gerald Gardner, it seemed like they were pretty in tune. I mean, they had all his books, and it looked like different biographies that may have been written by him.
Well, he made an impression.
Yeah.
He was a very interesting person.
Yeah, and I think definitely he has probably the biggest influence in Wicca in Britain. And another person that maybe people don't know about is Winston Churchill, who's not mentioned in this episode at all.
He was.
Was he?
Yeah.
He was at one point, but you guys were too busy having your own side conversation. But they said that Winston Churchill was out of the few parts that I actually listened to, or could pay attention to. Let's not say listen to. But they talked about Winston Churchill getting involved with it later on, and that's how it was kind of more accepted in Britain, and to where he could actually open up and talk about Wicca.
Yeah, so Winston Churchill was the one that removed the ban against witchcraft in Britain. And so that really is what kind of moved Wicca forward and gave Gerald Gardner the ability to really spread this to other people outside of maybe his small little coven or little, what they called
it. Fairly large, but small but large.
I mean, it grew into some large.
He was able to get a little more publicity.
Yeah, he definitely, and he also brought some other witches and stuff on that interview when he was able to really come out and say, yeah, this is what it is, and maybe kind of defend himself. I know he had also written a fictional book about witchcraft, but all the procedures and everything were what he learned, and that was kind of his way as kind of a Trojan horse, as we would call today, kind of get it out there without really revealing it. Yeah. And so I thought it was interesting learning about Gerald Gardner, and it sent me down a spiral of kind of learning more about it, and just wondering where it kind of got lost, because it seems very different now. Maybe it's mixed with some of the traditions in America, maybe with voodoo a little bit, but it definitely seems not what we just watched.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of traveling, and he did a lot of, researching and stuff like that. And I'm sure most of it's all just a collaboration of everything that he came across.
Yeah, things he liked, and he thought that was interesting, or maybe he thought, that actually worked.
Things that were relevant to his views.
Yeah. Alright, so.
That's weird.
Did you turn that on?
No?
You need a switch.
Alright, I'm out.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's see. We are back. Alright, so.
Where were we again?
Yeah, to be completely honest, we just had this weird stuff going on. You'll learn about that in another episode
Yeah,
here.
well, we were asking Andrew about why he's our...
Wicca.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh, yeah.
Andrew, why do we consider you our expert of our group of the Wicca?
Well, Wicca is in the family. My great uncle is Ray Buckland. I'm not really a practicing Wicca, but I do know a lot of the
Practices and traditions.
traditions.
Yeah, and at some point we do plan to give you an actual episode on him. Really delve into how he brought it to America. But to continue like this conversation, why do you think it seems so different now compared to when it started?
Because of the big boom. There was a lot of excitement for it in the 70s.
Are you
My
okay?
brain's not working very well.
No,
This wouldn't have been around like the Ouija time, right? Did the Ouija like kick in any?
no. Ouija kicked in well before this.
Yeah.
Ouija was the late 1800s with the Spiritualist movement.
Yeah.
That's right.
The Spiritualist movement was actually made up of a lot of con people. And that's why hopefully this year around Halloween we're going to do our episode on Harry Houdini, who really went around to try to, because he felt, not maybe bamboozled is the right word. Him and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and some friends, they would go to these seances. But because Houdini was obviously a magician and escape artist, he knew what they were doing to make everything. Like, he could see the trick. And it frustrated him, and he tried to get Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to really see it. Conan Doyle really wanted that closure, though. And then, with Houdini, he went around really showing people why it wasn't real. And that was the last phase of his act, was like, here's how they do their tricks. And he would actually name certain people and name exactly how they would do it. So people, because he didn't like the thought of people grieving, people looking for answers, who then got like robbed in a way. And that's why the Spiritualist movement has been considered a suspect in Houdini's death.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. I think that's also why we want to delve into Wicca. It's because it's really kind of a good jumping off point into a lot of other things. Because there's a lot of sub-branches, even though Andrew said there should only be really two. Today in America, and maybe this is something we'll do, we'll go around, maybe interview some practicing Wiccans in different, I don't know what are they called, like,
Covens.
well, covens, but what do they mean? Like, halls and stuff, I don't know. Forests, Cheeseman Park,
Oh,
maybe.
wait.
Where do they meet?
Yeah.
I thought you said, what do you mean?
Okay. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to delve into that. Because I really think when you watch this episode, it's not the way you learn it, which is really anything. It's much younger, way younger, 1940s, obviously. And it's, I don't know, we also need to do an episode on pagan itself being an umbrella, like, term.
I agree.
I mean, everything is pagan, and I think that does a huge disservice to because none of them are the same.
Yeah, it's
And-
like grouping everything into one thing.
Yeah, I mean, people do that all the time, but like just because the Roman pagans stole the Greek pagans as well as the Norse pagans and rolled it up together
Yeah,
doesn't like disqualify them or just make them pagan.
exactly.
And so I think that would be cool to go through. It's okay, that was Andy. It was not a ghost dog. So yeah, Andrew's Oh God, Matt has walked out of frame again. Matt has walked out of frame. Nah, for real though, that was some weird.
Keep barking.
That was weird stuff. Yeah, so overall, I think we probably actually would have been able to tell you guys a lot more about this episode without all the weird stuff that happened, because obviously that's kind of made our minds start going in different directions.
Yep, we
Like-
went into investigation.
Yeah, right
mode.
away we're like, all right, cut the recording, let's start investigating, seeing what's going on. But Andrew is going to be kind of rebooting Tales of the Crafts.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
Andrew is going to be taking over Tales of the Crafts, mainly because he does have a lot of interest in this series and ideas of things that would really maybe help benefit you guys in the knowledge of what Wicca and the occult really is. And he really wants to show you more of the practices, like in depth, so you guys can learn the true ways to do them maybe. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll go into Wicca, the occult, different pagan stuff. So we're going to probably end the episode here because we are totally fucking lost at this point.
Yeah, what he said.
So overall, do you guys recommend this episode, Matt?
Yeah, it was good.
What would you rate it?
7.5, 8, somewhere in there.
Andrew?
It's got Gerald Gardner in it.
Okay, what would your rating be then?
I don't want to give a rating. I don't feel like being mean today.
Okay, tell us first. How did some of those rituals look to you?
It was horrifying.
Was
I was very sad to see what I saw on a documentary about Wicca and witchcraft.
Alright, Andrew's gonna go see what's going on. We'll finish this episode. Like I said, some weird stuff's going on while we're filming this episode, so we're kind of doing two things at once. Alright, so can you... Alright, Matt's also gonna go investigate. Alright, so it's just me and Sam to close this off. If you guys like this episode, it's really unconventional, and usually they're not this way.
Yeah, it's been an interesting night.
It has. You'll see why. You'll see at least us trying to go investigate, see what's going on. Weird stuff's still going on. But if you want to see more, click here. If you want to see more of us doing Culz paranormal stuff, click over me, I guess. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe.
And turn on that notification bell if you want to get notified on all of our videos. Because you never know, some may turn out as interesting as this one. Make sure to switch it from personalized to all, and have a wonderful night.